I never believed in paranoia. At least, not until last winter. I had just moved into a small apartment on the third floor of an old building. It wasn't special. Cheap rent, thin walls, long, narrow hallway leading from the bedroom to the kitchen. The first week was normal. Then I started noticing sounds. Not loud ones, small things. A soft click, a light scrape, something that sounded like a fingernail brushing against the wall. At first, I blamed the pipes. Old buildings make noises. That's what everyone says. But the sounds didn't come from the walls. They came from the hallway. Every night, around the same time. The 12 a.m. I know the exact time because the first night it happened, I checked my phone. I told myself I was just being dramatic. The second night, it happened again. The 12 a.m. A slow, dragging sound, like something being pulled across the floor. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, barely breathing, waiting for it to stop. It always stopped after about 30 seconds, just long enough to make me question if it was real. On the third night, I decided to stay awake. I turned off all the lights. I didn't move. I didn't even look at my phone. I just listened. 3:11. Silence. 3:12. There it was. A soft step. Not a pipe. Not the heater. A step in my hallway. Slow. Careful. As if whoever was there didn't want to be heard. My heart started pounding so hard I was sure they could hear it. The sound moved closer to my bedroom door. Then it stopped. Right outside. I could see the faint shadow under the door. And I swear it wasn't there before. Something was blocking the light from the hallway window. I wanted to call the police. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't move. Then the door handle twitched. Just slightly. Not enough to open. Just enough to prove it wasn't my imagination. And that's when I realized something that made it worse. I live alone, and the hallway light had been off all night. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I just lay there, staring at the door, waiting for it to move again. It didn't. At 6:30 a.m., when the sun finally started coming through the window, I forced myself to get up. The hallway was empty, quiet, exactly the way I had left it. The light switch was still off. I checked the front door. Locked. The chain in place. No signs of forced entry. I told myself it had to be stress, lack of sleep, an overactive imagination. But when I walked into the kitchen, I froze. One of the chairs was slightly pulled out from the table. Just a few inches. Enough to notice. I never leave it like that. I live alone. I pushed it back in. Slowly. My hand was shaking. That day, I bought a small security camera. Nothing fancy. Just something to point down the hallway at night. I set it up before bed. Made sure it was recording. And waited. 3:11 a.m. I was awake. Watching the live feed on my phone. The hallway looked normal. Empty. 3:12 a.m. The camera glitched. Just for a second. A quick distortion. Like static. Then it returned to normal. I stared at the screen. Nothing. No movement. No sonidos. Then I heard it. Not through the camera. From my hallway. A slow step. Soft. Careful. I looked back at my phone. The hallway on the screen was empty. Completely empty. But the sound was getting closer. Another step. And another. Stopping right outside my bedroom door. My chest felt tight. I switched the camera view to playback. Rewound 10 seconds. The footage showed something I still can't explain. At 3:12 a.m. exactly, my bedroom door slowly moved. Not opening, just bending inward slightly, like pressure was being applied from the hallway. But there was nothing there. No figure. No sado. Just the door. Moving. I looked up from my phone. The real door in front of me was perfectly still. Then the handle began to turn. Slowly. Silently. And this time, it didn't twitch. It turned. The handle stayed down. For a full second. Maybe two. I couldn't breathe. I was staring at it, waiting for the door to swing open. It didn't. Slowly, the handle returned to its original position. Click. Silence. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Every instinct told me not to open the door. But I had to know. I stood up. My legs felt weak. The hallway was dark. Too dark. The light from the window at the end of it should have been visible under the door. It wasn't. I reached for the handle, paused, then pulled it open. The hallway was empty. Completely empty. The air felt cold. Colder than it should have been. I stepped out, checked the kitchen, the bathroom, the front door. Still locked. Chain still in place. No one there. I went back into my room and locked the door. This time, I pushed a chair under the handle. I didn't sleep. At 6:47 a.m., I checked the camera footage again. And that's when I noticed something I missed before. At 3:11:58 a.m., 2 seconds before the glitch, there was a shape at the end of the hallway. Tall, thin, almost blending into the darkness. It wasn't moving. It was just standing there, facing my bedroom. Then the screen distorted, and it was gone. I moved out that same week. I didn't tell the landlord why. I just left. A month later, out of curiosity, I searched the building's address online. There was an old forum thread. Someone asking if anyone else had experienced the hallway thing. Multiple replies. Different tenants. Different years. All describing the same time. 3:12 a.m. Soft steps. A shadow at the end of the hallway. And a door handle turning. I don't live there anymore. But sometimes, I still wake up at exactly 3:12. No alarm. No noise. Just a feeling. Like something is standing outside my bedroom door. Waiting. The handle stayed down for 3 long seconds. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. Then, the door slowly opened. Just a few inches. Enough to see the darkness of the hallway. But nothing else. No shadow. No outline. Nothing standing there. My phone slipped from my hand onto the bed. The camera feed was still running. The hallway was empty. Completely empty. But my door was open. I forced myself to speak. Who's there? My voice barely came out as a whisper. No answer. Just silence. Then something changed. The air in the room felt heavier. Colder. Like a window had been opened in winter. The door began to close. Slowly. As if someone invisible was pulling it shut. When it clicked back into place, the hallway light suddenly turned on. Bright. Harsh. I stared at the bottom of the door, waiting for a shadow. Nothing appeared. After what felt like minutes, I rushed forward and yanked the door open. The hallway was empty. The kitchen light was off. The front door was still locked. Chain in place. Everything looked normal. Except for one thing. The security camera. It was no longer facing the hallway. It had been turned. Now, it was pointing directly at my bedroom door, as if something wanted to watch me instead. I checked the footage the next morning. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the video froze. The frame distorted, and for a single second, there was something standing in the hallway. Tall, unnaturally thin, its head slightly tilted, facing my door. Then the video cut to static. I moved out that weekend. I never went back for the camera, and sometimes when I wake up at night, I still check the time, because no matter where I live now, it's always 3:12.